and welcome to episode 2 of the weekly Tech Fix, where me and my co-host Nitin CHAWLA talk about what's what in tech and lifestyle. Today is an extremely special episode.
Oh yeah,
and Nitin will tell you more about why, because I can't hold that excitement. And so Nitin, why don't you take us through why today is a special day?
it is officially Wwdc day, buddy. It is the day that Apple is about 24 hours from the time that Apple has officially announced the Worldwide Developer Conference. It's running right now at Apple Park, and we promised you guys that we would cover everything that was announced at the keynote, and there was so much announced. It's absolutely insane. Like, my mind was blown for over 2 hours looking at that computer screen last night. Speaking of WWDC, if you guys don't know what it is the Worldwide Developers Conference, where Apple pretty much has this conference every year in the month of June, where they will release the latest information on the latest software updates that they're going to be dropping for the year, for the iPhones, for the watch, for Vision OS now, for the Mac, for every product that they basically have along their lineup. And this conference basically brings together all the developers. Apple releases a bunch of API tools and a bunch of tools for developers to get on board with the new features that they want to drop on their different software platforms. And that's basically what we get at WWDC. Essentially, the way your phone or all your Apple devices are going to work for the next 1 year depends on this software and this entire conference. And it's super special because we're going to be covering everything that's come out. Kevin, dude, you got to tell me how you want to start this, because I don't know. There's so many things I want to talk about today.
Yeah, we promised ourselves that we are going to keep it short and sweet, but we are so excited that I don't think that that's going to be something that we're going to be able to achieve, but we will try. We'll try. We have already spoken 2 minutes about how great WWDC was, but just to put it in a nutshell, we always pride Apple of doing innovative things, but this time I think they took a lot of pages from various books and put it together and made something great out of it.
Yeah,
like they usually outdo themselves after everybody has innovated, but this time I think they've done something great, and I'm excited. I'm like,
absolutely.
I think you guys will enjoy what we have to share. Quickly, starting off with my least favorite part of the entire thing, and
Vision OS.
No, let's start with the high. I think the high was the intro. If you guys have, and if you guys have not seen the WWDC intro yet,
it was amazing.
How much like every year, every keynote that Craig is a part of is a surreal experience, but this time he just outdoes himself. The whole crew outdoes themselves. It shows the portability of the vision, of the Apple Pro Vision. A person is wearing it, jumping off a plane. You guys should go and check it. I'm going to spoil it for you guys, but it is one of the most beautifully shot in an iPhone.
Yeah, for sure.
Videos that you can catch on the internet.
Shot on an iPhone, videos that you can catch on the internet. Like, that is the most special part about this. Like, all the latest Apple events for the last year and a half have been shot on iPhone, edited on Mac, and kind of on iPad, but we don't care about that. The cinematic quality that you can get out of these devices in your pocket right now are phenomenal. And the way Apple makes these events, dude, I was watching Google I.O., I think a couple of weeks back, maybe last month, and my God, it is so slow and so boring for companies as big as that. They can make tech so exciting the way Apple does. There's nobody doing it. And even if they start doing it now, I think Apple's already reached a place where they know how to get you excited for like new products or like even new software. Like, this is a software-based event. So good. So good.
I agree. And even if somebody comes up and tells me that, all right, this is something that we should take a look at, I would be like, yeah, makes sense. But this Apple cannot now do something less exciting than what they're already doing.
Absolutely.
And kudos to the guys who really work on their marketing end, because those guys, they somehow, if you have all the resources, all the money in the world, I think that helps as well. But
for sure.
And just
they blow your mind. Yeah,
just the whole management getting behind it. Tim Cook standing on top of Apple Park. Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, I look forward to Tim Cook coming on like at every keynote and going good morning, like that typical good morning, except I think he's done good evening once at the Scary Fast event when the Macs came out, but he's done good morning every time. It's become so iconic. I don't know, like after Tim Cook leaves, if he leaves, I hope he never leaves, but if he does, I'm going to miss that. It's become so iconic to my favorite tech events of the year, right?
Me too.
Okay, we can keep fanboying on Apple and Apple executives. Craig Federighi, who was insanely cool and Tim Cook. But I think we should get to the meat and potatoes of this entire podcast. What was announced yesterday, bro? You got to start with something, and we have to start because everyone's wondering what the hype is about.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things, apart from the UI overall, which we'll talk about further, I think what really took precedence in the whole show was Apple's integration with AI. I think we spoke about this a lot in the last podcast as well, about how AI would be the next step because everybody is jumping on the AI bandwagon. You have Samsung with their latest devices, integrating AI to a large extent, not just on a OS front, but also for the benefits that AI could bring in terms of smaller applications on your phone, like even photos for that matter. I know that you could do photos on any device. You could have that software which could do these things. I think it is offered as a feature with Google Photos if you subscribe to Google One. But to do it at an OS level, I know they are late to the whole game, but they still manage to do something different, and it feels different. And I think, what do you have to say? What do you have to say?
We're saying AI here, but like what most people have been listening to from yesterday, or what the headlines in the papers said today, was Apple intelligence, not artificial intelligence. So I think I want to start there before anything else. Apple intelligence is what Apple has rebranded AI to be, because it's not your typical generative AI, right? It's not what you normally have with Google or what you have with Microsoft or what you have with OpenAI. It is generative AI, which is like 70 to 80% on device now, and it is privacy focused, and there's privacy cloud compute now, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that was put together. So they basically called it Apple Intelligence, and that was definitely the primary focus, as you said, for the entire event. Obviously, Apple is not a company that wants to talk about AI openly in the market. I don't think any of these executives who sit at Apple want to market AI, but it's come down to that. Like, that's what the tech world has come down to. People wanted and needed Apple to say these words out on stage. So they did have to say it a couple of times, but they also made sure they said Apple Intelligence over 62 times in that event, which was just less than 2 hours long. So they made sure that happened too. So they're trying to rebrand it with the whole privacy focus, which I think is essential.
Absolutely. Also, yesterday, just when the event ended, one of the most revered and also the most, for the lack of a better word, disliked tech giant in the world that came out. Tech giant, not in terms of innovation, in terms of bettering something that already exists. We had Elon Musk come up and say that if Apple integrates OpenAI at the OS level, then he would have to ban those devices on site, including staff, and people would have to leave it outside when they come in. They'll put it in a Faraday cage. He's all tinfoil hat, all Terminator.
I know. So I hear you.
I feel that was a bit of an overreaction, but considering what these devices can do, I'm sure there is a little space for speculation, little space for being a little conservative with these things. But availability, and that's one thing that really caught me by surprise. Actually, not by surprise, but I think that it is fair for Apple to do this on devices that are more powerful. I don't think that they have blindsided or handicapped any of the older devices.
I agree. Firstly, it's coming back to the Elon Musk aspect of this entire situation. I get why he's pissed and like why he would have to ban the devices. It's understandable. That was also one of my biggest issues with generative AI, where there's a lot of privacy problems, a lot of interference with daily life, and obviously this is the tech company head that we're talking about, one of the biggest giants in the tech world. So there is a lot of aspects involved to it. But then again, I also believe that this is on every device on the market now, right? Even if it's not on an OS level, you have ChatGPT available on every second device on the market. And if he's going to ban Apple products, he might as well go ahead and ban all electronics, all personal consumer electronics when people are coming in. It's a big deal if it's on an OS level. It's still the most privacy-focused integration and implementation of generative AI on a device, which is basically the Apple way to go ahead with things. So I think he's picking a fight, and Musk has done that a lot of times. So we'll see where this goes. It's a couple of factories where people won't be allowed to use their iPhones, and we have jobs all around the world where you can't carry your phone into work and you have to leave it in a locker outside. So it's fine. It's not going to make that much of a difference. And fun listening to the different reactions to people on the internet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes people just blow things out of proportion and overreact, and he got all the eyeballs he needed in terms of
course,
putting out that tweet and gauging that, getting that engagement. But another thing that we were talking about in the previous podcast was about the emoji situation, and now that you can make AI upgraded Bitmojis that basically make you look amazing.
That is super cool. I'm super excited about that. Okay,
that's so good.
Yeah, Genmoji is super cool. And I love how Apple is just like coming up with new names for things like Memoji and now Genmoji, and then you have emojis, and there's a little bit of everything sprinkled in. There's a lot of people are going to like create 1,000 memes about this on the internet, and I'm pretty sure those memes are going to go viral because people love to hate on Apple. But then again, people are going to use it. The same people are going to go and use Facebook avatars after a point, just so they can get a similar image, and it's a fact, and people use it, and it's everywhere, right? Like there's WhatsApp avatars and there's Facebook avatars. Yeah, it's really cool. I'm really happy that we have Genmoji. I'm also really happy that a lot of the leaks that we predicted would happen actually took place, and those leaks came out to be true, and super cool on that front.
I totally agree. And moving in the AI space a little bit more, Siri got an integration with ChatGPT, and I think that's one of the things that was very spoken very little of in whatever I was reading and what I was watching. And I think people are still not comfortable with the fact that there is an always listening or something that you could speak with on a daily basis. And I think that's something that people will have to get over. But just the ability of having ChatGPT's, the power of ChatGPT on your cell phone, which already exists, but Apple always does things differently. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
That really excites me. That really excites me.
Yeah. ChatGPT, again, when it comes down to, like, we were talking about how there are devices where right now Apple Intelligence won't even work on, right? So while I agree with, firstly, I didn't finish on that, so I completely lost track of what I was saying because I got so excited talking about like Elon Musk there. While we're talking about that, definitely there is a reason why Apple has chosen the most powerful iPhone and only the M series Macs and only the M series iPads to be able to run Apple Intelligence. It makes sense. They're trying to do as much as they can on device, and you need the power. You need a chip that can hold all of that, right? And it makes sense. It's just sad that if you have an iPhone, regular iPhone 15, you didn't see this coming. But what I'm more concerned about is the route they're going to take with the remaining iPads on the lineup. I'm also concerned about what happens to the next set of chips that come out on the new regular iPhone 16 models. Like, that's what I'm more concerned about, because then again, they've always tried to differentiate the Pro models from the non-Pro models, and then are they going to have a differentiation where Apple Intelligence will be on the Pro models or on the M series chips, and will the iPad mini not get Apple Intelligence eventually? And that's what I'm really concerned about here, because the iPad mini is rocking an A15 chip, which is 2 gens old. And if they drop an A17 Pro chip, we might just get the bare bones of Apple Intelligence. But as it grows over time, we don't know how that's going to work out. So that is something to be concerned about, definitely. And I am going to be looking out to what happens on that front.
All right. Moving on to another cool thing that was announced is we're looking at a TechCrunch article as a flow sheet, because they did a fantastic job in covering whatever was WWDC. And so I know for a fact that you have an Apple TV. I don't have one yet. And do you use Apple TV Plus as a feature? I'm sure you would, right?
I do. I love Apple TV Plus.
There's no other thing. There's no other way to go when you have Apple TV, because some of these shows on there are
insane.
Everybody knows Ted Lasso. Everybody knows the breakfast show.
The morning show,
The morning show. I'm sorry. Oh, jeez. The morning show.
Yeah, Ted Lasso, the morning show. All these are some insane shows. Slow Horses, bro. Oh my God.
Horses.
Such good shows. So Apple TV Plus has come a really long way. It used to be like bare bones in season 1, like the first year that they introduced it. But Apple TV Plus has some epic shows now that you can watch. And I've had it for a long time because I'm an Apple One subscriber. So I have everything that they basically throw at me, and it comes as a bundle. And essentially, I tried out Apple TV Plus because I bought an iPhone back in the day when Apple TV Plus had just come out, and it was giving you a whole year free, Like if you bought a new Apple device at that point, they were giving you a whole year free, and I do the yearly. Yeah, I do the yearly iPhone update, so I got it. Yeah, it's great, and I think what you're coming to is the number of shows that they showcase yesterday at WWDC that I expected to come out. Dude, I swear, I was so psyched, and there are so many. There's this new movie that's coming out with Brad Pitt, and Natalie Portman's going to be there, and Scarlett is on there, and like there's so much stuff coming out with Apple TV Plus. Like this is going to be a big year for content.
They're really putting their money where their mouth is in terms of their commitment to content. Simple reason being, like you mentioned, Apple One. Not a lot of people who do not subscribe to Apple One know that it is an expensive service. It is getting expensive. It's getting expensive since it started. It has seen 2 price increases. It has also seen additional functionality added, but just the price increase is a little harsh. A little harsh in some spots. Like in Canada, if you're on the Apple One plan, where you're getting 2 terabytes of storage, all the bells and whistles, Apple Fitness Plus, Apple TV, you're getting all of that, Apple Music. You can share up to 5 individuals, which I think is great for families.
Yeah.
Post taxes, you're paying around $50 so a month.
That's a lot.
That's kind of steep. I'm sure people who use all the features like me and Nitin do would appreciate that it's $50. But somebody who's just getting it for a bunch of things is going to really feel the pinch.
It really adds up. And I do use all the features that Apple gives you in Apple One in India, but here's the ironic part. We don't even have Apple News in India. We don't have Apple Fitness Plus in India. We don't have Apple Sports in India. We don't have all of that stuff. And Continuity Camera is doing the weird balloon thing right now. But we don't have any of those features in India. So I'm actually paying for Apple One for family. And I've got the highest tier. I've got the 2 terabyte. It's not the highest storage tier, but it is one of the high tiers. And it kind of sucks that we don't have a lot of the features that Apple One has abroad. And I'm really hoping this changes, because this is a trend. We don't have Apple Pay in India. We don't get the Apple Card in India. So it is expensive. But that being said, Apple TV Plus is totally worth it, man. Like there are so many good shows and so many good movies. There's this movie which is called Greyhound, which is one of the best movies I've ever seen. Like it's such a well-made movie. Tom Hanks.
Have you seen Napoleon? Napoleon is a great film too.
No, so I want to. It's on my list. I have a lot of backlog. I work on a ship where we have no internet for months, and when I come home, I have a lot of shit to catch up with. So Napoleon's definitely there.
So Apple has taken another book from the tech industry and added something like Amazon's X-ray technology or Shazam-like functionality by putting down something called as Insight, which is so Apple-like because there's always the I and
for sure.
This is like, it's such an Apple thing to do. Just put I, slap I onto things and make it great. Anyways,
I think it's just it's a very basic feature. It's something that should have been there from day one, to be very honest.
Forever. So it's nothing to get excited about, but it's something they added. It's a quality of life feature. So
absolutely, absolutely. I see something big in front on the screen right now.
Yeah,
Siri.
For what was the first smart assistant that you used on a cell phone? Like for me, it was Samsung, and it was really early, and they could only do search. A little before Bixby, but they could only do search, and it was clunky as hell. It was definitely not on device because you needed internet to connect to it. So, what was your first smart assistant?
I think it was Google Assistant. Yeah, it was Google Assistant. I had the Nexus 5, and they had Google Assistant. It was just new around that time, right? Like I think it started blowing up with the Nexus or the Pixels. It blew up with the Pixels, but we had OK Google available on the Nexus models of phones. And that was really cool. Google Assistant is amazing. Siri has a lot to learn from Google Assistant, but I think Siri's learned a lot already. That's the part that we're getting to right now, are we?
And if Siri's not learned a lot already, which is surprising for the number of iPhones that are available in the wild. Siri can now, with the power of Apple intelligence,
Yeah,
can
can
do
learn
much
a
more.
lot more.
Can do
Can
much
do
more.
way more. Yeah, Apple Intelligence has given Siri the ability to understand context and understand you from your mails and your messages and your reminders and your workout trends and the way you wake up and the amount of sunlight you get in a day. And like it just pulls information from everywhere. But don't worry, it keeps it all on device. And that's the best part about yesterday for me with the whole Apple Intelligence and the Siri upgrades. Everything, like majority of it, other than the ChatGPT stuff, is on device.
On
And
device.
that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. And you know, thinking about the whole Siri situation and like ChatGPT and everything else, ironically, while ChatGPT is not on device, it does go up to a server. There's something called Privacy Cloud Compute that they built. That is basically servers built with M series chips, Apple Silicon, made completely by Apple. So, firstly, when anything has to go to the cloud, it will ask you, or if you're using ChatGPT, you will get prompted on your iPhone whether you want this question to be sent to ChatGPT or not. So there is a privacy focus there. Like they've taken the whole world's biggest problem, which is consent, and made sure it's at the forefront of generative AI, which is insanely cool. And I think a large amount of regulation has to come in regarding generative AI, which should involve consent. So they've done that, and it's going to send it up to these servers, and these servers are completely encrypted, and they go through checks by Apple experts, and they make sure, and it can only be sent to a server that has gone through a recent check by an Apple expert, and they're going to keep checking on it. So it's like an ongoing process, and nobody, not even Apple, gets that information. As a matter of fact, I read somewhere that ChatGPT, any questions that are sent by you from your iPhone or your iPad or your Mac to ChatGPT via Siri, ChatGPT OpenAI does not have the right to keep them and create a profile for you on their platform. And that is the level to which Apple has gone to with this. And it's all free. That's the coolest part. It is free. You're getting the latest modules free.
Is it? You're paying the Apple tax by purchasing the devices. Anyways, that's a conversation. that's a conversation for another day.
Imagine this: you're paying the Apple tax and you pay for ChatGPT, like the whole version, like all the features.
That'll suck.
Yeah. So far it's free.
So far it's free. A lot of privacy-focused individuals. Actually, I know people. Yeah, actually excited about. I know people who pay for these apps on the App Store, and those apps have those apps do a fantastic job. But there was always this demand from individuals power users especially, who said that I know the common man doesn't care about it as much as we do, who are power users. We always wanted an on-device password or passkey app, and Apple did a fantastic job by introducing this bit of a feature as an app, because it's already available in Safari.
Yeah, it was already there. It was a part of iCloud Keychain, so it pretty much already existed. You just had to dig deep, and it wasn't even hard. You just had to swipe down on your device and type in passwords, and it would open up iCloud Keychain using your biometrics. So it wasn't too hard. But then that's the thing: not a lot of people knew about it because it was buried so deep in the settings. So I think what they've basically done is they've come out to people and gone like, you don't need to pay LastPass or 1Password or any of these other major players in the game, who are phenomenal, by the way. I personally have used 1Password in the past. They're really good to like protect your passwords and to like keep your passwords ready and to get you auto signed in and get you authentication and verification on websites. You don't need to do that because this is a feature that's been built in to iCloud Keychain forever. And since like it was so cumbersome for people to find it and understand what it does, and like since it's so deeply buried in the ecosystem or in the OS rather, they just brought it out in front of you and made it an app. And it is a really cool app. Like I recently, like last night, as a matter of fact, after WWDC got done, it ended at midnight in India, and I pretty much, before I went to sleep, took out my spare iPhone, my iPhone SE, played with a large amount of customization that they've given us. It looks so sick, and this is an iPhone SE from 2022, right? Like it is a bare bones model. It has the A15 Bionic, and like it's not the state-of-the-art device that Apple sells, but it's running so well. This is an iOS 18 developer beta. I can't show you more because of copyright issues and like I can't. You're basically not allowed. There's a non-disclosure on stuff that you get with developer betas on the internet, so I can't show you too much. But the home screen is what I got, and the Passwords app is on here, and it is amazing. It's such a good UI. It's so simple. It even has your Wi-Fi passwords. It's so clean. Like it's very well done.
Clean. It's so clean. Yeah, so I was excited about this feature as well as another feature that will come back down later. But this is something that I always wanted. Like you said, those apps were great, but they were not integrated on system. So there was always this
Yeah.
concern that what if there was a data breach and what if
What
we
if they
lost our
get
password?
hacked?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. What if there's a data breach? So this gives me a little bit more confidence. I know Apple is not Fort Knox, but it's a little better than those apps. Not no name companies. They're pretty large companies right now. Hundreds and thousands of dollars, million dollars in valuation.
Yeah.
But yeah, Apple just gives me a little bit more confidence.
I don't know why.
Quickly,
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same.
I know there's something showing on screen which we have been waiting for a very long time, but let's get through with SmartScript on the iPad. I know for a fact you are a very avid iPad user, and you're also sort of a fan. I'm a fan too,
I am. Yeah.
So and do you take a lot of notes on your? Did you used to take a lot of notes on your iPad? Like
I did. Yeah, so as a seafarer, I have to do a bunch of exams every now and then, and over the years, it just got easier to use my iPad for note taking. So yeah, definitely. And having SmartScript is really nice because like now my terrible handwriting is legible, and I think it's a great quality of life improvement. But I mean, I'm not super excited about this, right? Like I'm way more excited about what's below that on the screen right now, which is the calculator for the iPad. Like I'm ready to jump on top of that.
So I while I was studying, I used to take a lot of notes on my iPad, and this is how it used to look. So
oh wow! Look at you flexing your iPad.
You can't yeah. The writing's worse. I think I'm going to get more comments for the writing than anything else.
For sure.
This is how it looked. It was even doctors can read this, and I'm sure that this feature was just built for people like me who have terrible handwriting.
I got your back on that though.
Yeah, the last time I wrote anything on any device or on paper was a long time ago, apart from just signing stuff off. But this feature really would make the whole writing aspect of using an Apple Pencil on a device like the iPad little realistic. And
agreed.
And they're doing it all on device again. So
I'm telling you, that was my key takeaway yesterday. Like I walked out of my living room, I shut down my computer, went to sleep knowing that, okay, this is still a privacy focused company. Like I'm not dealing with Android. People are going to hate me for saying that though.
Yep. And for what was sort of the icing on the cake and something that people have been waiting for ever. And I remember Apple saying this out loud, that if they were ever going to do a calculator app for the iPad, they would do it right. They wanted the dimensions of the iPad to do justice to the calculator app. And I think they have hit it out of the park this time.
It felt really phony when they said that, to be very honest. I thought they just got lazy and went like, bro, there's already other apps on the App Store. Just get one of them. You have free calculators. But dude, this was really good. The calculator app, especially with the whole math note thingy, which is, I don't know what it's called. It's called Math Notes? Yeah, Math Notes. It's
Math Notes.
So unreal. So I don't have an Apple Pencil for this device, obviously, because it's an iPhone SE, but I tried Math Notes on the calculator using this. It's available in Developer Beta 1, and it is so good. It's instant, right? Like you can change the equation like instantly and it works. It just works. I wish I had this in school. My life would be a lot better. I was terrible at math.
Kids have it so easy these days.
Oh my god, yeah, dude. Gen Z is gonna hate us though.
It's fine. It's fine. they will reach a point where this will what generative
watch
AI
us to hate on us. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
there's going to be a time when they're going to be surprised at what generative AI could do for them as well. So
yeah, for sure. So it's going to be a time.
But when I saw this happen on screen, it really blew my mind. I was like, there is, if I remember correctly, there is an app on Android that was available. I forget the name, but you could do something like this on that as well. But not as sophisticatedly and as a part of a standalone app like Apple would do.
Yeah.
But
so that's the thing. This is the Apple way, right? So like people complain about how Apple doesn't innovate anymore. And I completely disagree. Just because they don't use the same terminology as every other device on the market does, they do innovate. They just take longer. That's the only difference. Like they do it, they take way longer. Like it's annoying how long they take for things, but they take longer and they do it really well, and that's innovation. Like dropping a feature that's half baked is not what you call innovation. Dropping a feature that makes sense and it's all round, that's what I call innovation. Like they thought about it so many aspects.
Bixby. Anyways, for me, I think the whole calculator thing was their way of saying that we haven't forgotten about the people who are asking about it. And like the whole battle for Apple users is that we see our colleagues, our family who are on the Android side of the lake get these amazing features. Like this is just novelty, but if you keep a Pixel phone on a desk when music is playing, it on the bottom side it shows the artist and the name of the song.
Yeah, now, that is really cool.
That is not something that a power user would care about, but it's cool to have.
It is very cool to have.
Now the next iPhone that comes out, the next iPhone that comes out, and they put that feature on there, you'll be like, okay, I have it now. So I've seen it work.
Exactly, but like, I don't know. So the whole music recognition thing is a whole conversation for another day. I could start talking about Shazam right now, and we could go way off topic. So let's go to Mac OS Sequoia, because that's what we need to talk about next. But yeah, I agree with what you said. There are these quality of life improvements that, while power users and people like techies wouldn't really give a shit about, they wouldn't mind it either. It's really cool to have these features.
Yep. And Sequoia, for me, I think the thing that stole the show was
controlling your iPhone.
The iPhone. Damn.
Yeah, dude. Like having your iPhone right here and right here, and your Mac, everything just overlaid.
You could share your screen. You could screen mirror all you wanted. But what really, tossed the ball in Apple's court was controlling your iPhone and standby mode. It is insane. Now I don't have to have a charger close by. I can keep my phone charging a little distant away and just use it on my Mac.
Exactly. So it is, again, quality of life improvement. That is what. So I think that's the main trend for WWDC: quality of life improvements, privacy, and just Apple intelligence sprinkled across the board in different snippets. There's not like this one, we launched a brand new generative AI module and we're going to destroy the whole world and take over the world with it. No, it's not that. It is the tiny things. It is a calculator app. Like that was the standout feature for iPad OS yesterday. One calculator app. But tell me who else does it as well? Nobody. And like it's these little tiny things. Mac OS, all about stability, right? Like, so that's what we discussed in the last podcast, all about stability. Everything that they brought to Mac OS is just been quality of life improvements.
Quality of life improvements.
A little bit of aesthetic value and quality of life improvements. They found a new name, which is very cool. And it's just about the bug fixes and the stability of the OS. It's as simple as that. And that was required.
And I think that's fair because they already did what was a UI overhaul. I feel this is justified that you add more. You don't reinvent the wheel. You just add new features to an existing great product or
you
great
don't
software.
Fix when it's broken. Yeah,
you don't. And I think Apple is learning that slowly and steadily.
Agreed.
And they are but yet they still make mistakes, like a mistake that we'll talk about a bit later, which is going to be available in Canada pretty soon from next month onwards. You can pre-order it right now for a sweet $5,000 plus tax. But we'll get there.
Still not available in India. They've not made that mistake yet.
Messages via satellite. Now...
not available in India.
Not available in India again, but...
I hear this. This is like a trend.
Yeah, it's more to do with it's more to do with regulation than it has got to do with them not wanting to do it in India. So this feature is just a more fleshed out function of the emergency SOS feature that's available on Apple. Never had to use it, and I can't vouch for how well it works. But
me neither.
Have you not even on the ship? You have never had to use the SOS just to see if it even works?
No, man. So on this ship, while we're out at sea, my phone is my alarm clock or my camera or my music player. So it literally stays in that mode, and I stopped looking at it as a phone. So no, never tried it. But now that you say, next time I'm around the US, I'm gonna try for sure. Like I'm gonna drop somebody a text by pointing my phone into the sky in the middle of the ocean, and let's see if this thing actually works.
Yeah, the whole satellite thing is a bit of a gimmick because this is a very very how do I say, very small case where you would need to do something like this. If imagine yourselves out hiking where there is no signal, there is no cell reception, and there's no way to get an emergency alert out there. You could probably share your location.
Tiny demographic, right? There's a tiny demographic of people who this would apply to, and like the way they market it, it is cool.
Yeah, so I understand it's also a very niche audience that would use it, but it's something. It's like what I talk about when I talk about knives. People say, why do you have to carry knives? I say, one, to open boxes. Two, never be caught with your pants down. Or always have something on hand. Redundancy is great. I always tell people, not at your workplace, of course, but in whatever tech you carry, whatever gear you carry, it's great. And I don't have to preach to the choir. You already have two phones that you use, because redundancy, it's a good thing to have. You have a backup phone, and that's a great thing to do.
I do, and I agree. It is a cool feature to have. It is really nice that we have this, but I really hope nobody has to use it at the end of the day. I really do hope. Like, I would never want anyone to try this feature.
True. Another thing that I know you were very excited about, and we were speaking it before we started recording the pod, was the Photos app. And
it is sick.
It is sick.
Just sick.
And I'm a huge fan of transparency throughout the UI and throughout the OS. And the Phones app is something that needed to be worked on for a long, long time. It is a powerful app. For people who don't understand, the Photos app is super powerful, but
it's insanely powerful.
It never excited me as much as I'm a Google Photos user. That's one of the things I use on my iPhone.
Interesting.
It has all my photos in there, and it has great features if you're a Google One user. That's what excited me about Google Photos. But now that I see that the native Photos app on iOS is going to take that leap and jump right across the border with all the new features that they've put in.
Agreed. Yeah, so like it's very Google Photos. I gotta be honest, right? It is. It's very Google Photos, and I think Apple had to play catch up here because it was about time. And so the one thing that I actually posted this on Threads yesterday during the event when they ran through the entire Photos app, but they didn't talk about the one AI feature that they included, which was cleanup. Yeah, cleanup. That's what they call, right? It's basically Magic Eraser for the iPhone, for iOS, which is insanely cool, and there's no doubt about it. But they didn't talk about it until they spoke about Apple Intelligence a little while later. And I was sitting there wondering, like, okay, so we got all of these insanely cool redesigns, and we got like memory sharing, and like it starts showing you your recent past and shows you all the photos you've taken the last week and all that cool stuff, right? But what happened to photo editing? Like, I am waiting for the day that Apple improves the photo editing engine on the Photos app, because I always thought like it messed up the highlights and the shadows when you were editing photos using that, which is why I use a third-party app called Darkroom. Honestly, I don't know if they've improved it, because this beta doesn't have any of the improvement. It just has the redesign. So I'm going to wait for the betas to get better and see if the photo editing engine has improved. If it has, I would be the happiest person on the planet to be able to edit all my photos natively on the iPhone without paying for a third-party app. Like, the app is so well done. Like, the UI is so good now. It's very modern, right? It's very, very, very tech friendly. It's very user friendly. It's a mixture of everything. And considering you have like your pet's face and your best friend's face, right, all posted up there at one time, it's also very user friendly. Like, it's a happy place to be at. So being able to just go in and do your work and pump out your great photos and post them to Instagram within using just one app would be epic. And I'm going to wait for that. But cleanup, great feature. Not necessarily what I wanted, but great feature.
It is like I said, the reason why I use Google Photos is just because of the tools that they provide in Google One, which
Yeah.
cleanup is one of that. A lot
Magic
of
Erase, yeah.
Magic Eraser. There is a lot of you know it does auto HDR for you on your photographs, color corrects for you. There's a lot
Yeah.
of stuff that you're paying for as a part of the Google One subscription,
Yeah.
but it does things for you, which I'm glad to know now Apple will have. And another thing that really left me distasteful with photos earlier was just the way it looked. It was difficult to navigate.
It was
If you wanted to find your recently deleted photographs, you had to scroll
all the way
um,
down.
all the way down. It was clunky, and it was not aesthetically pleasing to be honest. But they have brought the Photos app into 2024 and 2025. I think they've outdone themselves with this one. So
yeah, for sure. As long as they give me the editing tools, I'll be the happiest with the app. Like I would be the happiest. Improve the editing engine, and that's something that could happen.
That could happen. That's true. So I know this feature is not available in India, but just for our international viewers, Apple Pay has been one of those things which has made people who don't like to spend a lot as well, because it's that easy. You double tap your home key twice, and your card shows up, and you just tap to cash is something that they have been working on, and it seems to be something that needs a little bit more time to flesh out, because again, it is there's a whole conversation of how secure these things are. But Apple doesn't half-ass anything. They always have been a company that does a lot of work before they put something out there. So I think this needs to be fleshed out a little bit. But in terms of the functionality, I think it is a great addition, and I think that it should be something that should excite a lot of people, especially iPhone users.
Agreed. I think Apple Pay, Apple Tap to Cash, all of these additional cash features which we don't have in India yet, which has been rumored to be coming for a long time, are great features to have, because you have every other platform already doing it, right? You have multiple methods of payment worldwide, which are now all digital, and the world is going to go this way. The world is going this way. Like even your debit cards and credit cards are all tap to pay now, and that's the way it's going to work. So I'm pretty sure whatever Apple does will be more privacy focused at the end of the day, and I am excited for 2025, hoping that they bring it in to India.
Yep, absolutely. Jumping right onto the OS,
the hero of the show.
Hero of the show, especially yet again a lot of features that already existed in the wild.
Oh man!
But redone with the Apple
way.
How do I say? Redone the Apple way, with the Apple sensibility, with the Apple touch, and I feel that a lot of these things should have been a part of iOS 17. The big iOS 17 should have been the big refresh, but I'm not complaining. iOS 18 is also
more than welcome.
Good enough with me. Good enough with me. I'm not.
Agreed. So agreed. iOS 18 for me has been great. It is a mega update, and it's so good that we got what we wanted for the longest time. But then again, you're right. We should have got this a long time ago. A lot of the features that they introduced yesterday, including like redesigning your home screen and coloring your icons, all of that, the Android fanboys are going to be hating on Apple forever. And now, just because Apple did something, so this is the thing, right? We keep talking about how Apple does everything really well, the Apple way, and they take time. But then there are certain basic things that they should have had from day one. So when you take time on that, the entire Android world comes and goes like, bro, your iPhones can't do this, and you pay like that much money for an iPhone. Like, this is so basic, right? So even something as simple as redesigning your home screen, the way they've implemented it, I love it. Like, my iPhone SE has never looked this good to me. I have my transparent teal layout. It is super simple. You can now move apps around, widgets around, resize them. What I love the most, I keep doing this, I keep swiping down for the control center. I keep forgetting that it's a different phone. The new control center is phenomenal. It looks so clean. I love it, right? So control center put aside, coloring your home screens, reassigning your app locations on the device, and being able to customize your widgets. Yeah, they should have come when you launched widgets a couple of years ago with iOS 16 or 15. We launched widgets, and it should have come back then. Like, these were very basic things, but I'm not complaining. We have them now, and I like the way it's been done. So, Android people can keep hating on Apple for it, but at least it's here and it's great. So that's basically that. iOS 18 was phenomenal.
And what really made me really happy as an ex Android user was if I want something at a spot on my screen, Apple would say, "Go to hell! You can't do that."
Yeah, you had the grid.
We need to maintain. Yeah, we need to maintain the aesthetic of your phone for you, my friend. It's for you.
Yeah.
It's your social credibility that we are worried about.
It's terrible.
It was like, okay, fine, all right.
Apple always thought they knew what the consumer wanted, which is not the case, and I think they're realizing that, and I'm glad they are because they're opening up a little bit more.
This is what the consumer wants. Consumer wants flexibility. He wants freedom to at least that much freedom that he could do whatever he wants on his device.
I think officially with iOS 18, we can say this is the end of the Steve Jobs era.
With the control lying with Apple, and now it is shifting to the thing is that Steve Jobs is such a huge personality. I don't think that the era would end for the next 70 years, just because in terms of just influence on how people perceived Apple, they still resonate that sort of brand value with Steve Jobs and his vision of how things are. All of those cutthroat meetings with executives, that stage presence, his ability to excite the crowd even when he was going through a very tough phase in his life, when he was battling something that most of us only can dread about.
We'd give up. We would give up.
And giving his all to a company that clearly, in contrast, like I think we should do one of those episodes where we talk about the Apple of the past. I know both of us were
Steve.
Steve. Both of us were around when Apple was picking up, but we never had access to those devices.
No.
But that'll be a good episode to follow. But yeah, coming back to iOS 18, that's the thing. When you start talking about something you're passionate about, like Steve Jobs and Apple, tend to just lose track of time.
I swear to God, I was going to cut this conversation by going like, bro, but the Apple from today is Tim Cook's Apple, and it's so different.
So different. Yeah.
It is so different.
So from an investor perspective, if I talk about what Tim Cook has done for Apple, he has reinstated investor confidence in a company that had failures like the 5C. It had what they assumed to be a failure with the iPad Mini, which was a sleeper hit.
It was
what they thought was a failure.
So many years later,
the mini lineup, which they thought was a failure, but now it's a cult classic. So
agreed.
So Apple is like one of those underrated directors whose films don't do great on the big screen, but when they are watched on home streaming networks, they become cult classics.
Yeah, absolutely.
And iPhone 13 mini is one of those cult classics. I can't, for the love of God, stop recommending people from getting the iPhone 13 mini or the iPad Mini 6. Just for the reason that it is one of Apple's greatest products. It is one of the feathers in their hats that they totally like to pluck out when they come out in public.
And it is.
That is what it is. So
agreed.
iPhone 18, as usual, they are going to provide this update to older iPhones as well. I think it's the end of an era with one of the older iPhones now losing functionality, which I think
the iPhone 10.
The 10, which was revolutionary for whoever you ask in terms of design. It was not only Apple's forte into a full screen display with a notch.
Yeah,
it was also the beginning of something greater, because they provided access to it right next to an already existing iPhone, and they said, okay, you want something better? You pay the price.
We got you.
Yeah, you pay the price.
Yeah, and it's also when they actually, like, the way you interact with your iPhone, it changed completely with like, the touch bar, instead of like having a home button and having Face ID and like the basic everyday interactions. Like, this has become muscle memory for iPhone users, right? So now you can wake up, you can hold an iPhone, and you just know, okay, you swipe up to unlock, and Face ID is going to kick in, and you pull up to see whatever apps are running in the background, and whatever's minimized, and it's just the gestures and the hand navigation and the interaction with the operating system. And the entire operating system's fluidity was built around what they built with the iPhone 10, and the iPhone 10 was the biggest redesign to the iPhone. Like, I love the current design of the iPhones. I think we're already at peak iPhone with titanium and like the rounded corners, but the squared off design and all of it put together. It's great. But the iPhone 10 was what spurred all of this, right? That was the biggest change since the iPhone has ever dropped.
It was.
Yeah, it's sad that we're losing it, but I'm glad that the iPhone 10R, which was a higher selling model in a lot of countries because of its budget value, still gets it. And the iPhone 10R is going to be rocking iOS 18 in 2024, which is amazing.
It's amazing, which is amazing. So that's one thing that people say, why are you guys so involved with the Apple ecosystem, is because I feel that Apple doesn't alienate you when their new models come out.
Yeah, for sure.
They do, but those
they have
are
their moments.
Hardware limitations. Remember the whole
battery and the slowdown.
Yeah, they do douchebaggy things like that from time to time, but it's not douchebaggy because, like, I was watching MKBHD on Flagrant with Andrew Schulz. By the way, I went to the show in Vancouver and he was amazing.
Oh my god!
Andrew Schulz goes up and asks MKBHD that, is it true with the iPhone slowing down and stuff? And he's like, yeah, because Apple wants you to have the same experience throughout their devices, which includes having an all-day battery life. And if that means that they're going to slow down your processor in order for it to provide you that battery life, because batteries degrade, then it is not wrong to say that they are doing such a thing. And that's exactly the defense that Apple put up when they were sued for the whole slowing down thing. They said that, this is what it is. So, deal with it. Do you want to keep your iPhone for 10 years? Then you need to keep your battery going.
So technically, that is a hardware limitation, like the battery life. Yeah. It does take 10 years. Dude, 10 years is a long time. It happens. Yeah. The problem wasn't. I think the problem became bigger when they started slowing down 2-year-old devices and not 10-year-old devices. I think that's where they went wrong, because they started applying the same thought process across.
So a lot of iPhone 14 users, 14 Pro users, 14 Pro Max users, like, I can say I'm happier with the 15 Pro Max just because my battery percentage is still 100%.
Same.
Whereas if you were on the 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max at
low 90s,
1 year in, you'd be in the low 90s, and even in the 80s if you use your phone as regularly as a power user would use.
I'm not convinced, because I'm a power user. Like, I live on my iPhone, right? It's like an extension of my body. I sold the 14 Pro to get the 15 Pro, and the 14 Pro was about 11 months old when I sold it. That's basically my cycle with the phone. And when I did, I had 98% battery on mine. And it only dropped a month before I sold it. And I think a lot of it comes down to how you use your phone. And a lot of it comes down to how you charge your phone. And I think, I'm not, again, this is not me defending Apple. Yeah, the battery life was shit on the 14 Pros. They definitely had their issues, because I know a lot of people who have had these issues personally, and I've seen their phones pretty bad. But then again, there are things that you can do to extend your battery health. And I do believe, while Apple was responsible for that entire mess with the batteries on those devices, I also believe that there is a bunch of things that we can do as users, which is follow the recommended guidelines that Apple provides, and maybe you get a month or two extra out of it. I'm not sure. So, I couldn't be sure on how long the timeline is.
I traded when I traded in my iPhone 14 Pro, and for batteries, there are different things that affects it, including environment, including climate, including temperature, including moisture, including how. Like, I think that the reason my battery life was below 80% when I traded my 14 Pro Max in for the 15 Pro Max was because my charging habits were terrible. They have gotten better now.
Yeah.
but my charging habits were terrible. If I saw that my device was at 98%, I would start to panic.
Yeah, I would start to panic. Everyone has battery anxiety at some level. And I think our battery anxiety percentages are different. Like, for you, it was 98, which is better than 99, but it's pretty bad. For me, I think it's around like 55 to 60%. I think I start feeling the pinch that I have to throw on my MagSafe power battery pack. But then again, I'll throw on the Apple MagSafe battery pack that won't let the phone overheat. So those again, that also counts as a charging habit, like what you use to charge your phone. Does it have integration with iOS? Does it realize what temperature your phone is at? Or is it just like one of those really fancy Qi 1 chargers that would boost up your phone to 100%, but then like your phone was like a furnace at that point? You could cook an egg on it. It all depends. There's a bunch of factors here that we got to like look into. Battery gate on another day, though. We got to get done with that.
Battery gate. Yeah. So one of the least exciting portions of the entire
do we even need to talk about this?
We need to talk about it for the simple reason being that, like we were talking like we were discussing in our last pod, Vision Pro was not available in Canada. Even we are just their neighboring country, and we're just neighbors, we're just allies. We can afford it, guys. We can, although the economy is taking a hit, we can afford it. We can really go out there and purchase these devices. But they decided that it was not about affordability. It was more about them fleshing it out before they put it out into more countries. And I respect that. But it didn't even pick up in the US. So
actually, ironically,
that's the device.
That's the device. It picked up in the US. It just like it picked up. It had more sales than projected, and then it dropped. The usage dropped massively in the US. I think that's what happened, right? Like a lot of people ended up loving the device when they got it in their hands, and I'm sure I'm dead sure you and me would too. But then the usability after a point, like I don't think people are ready for putting shit on your head and walking around, even if it's the Oculus Quest or Google Glass, Google Lens from back in the day, or even now the Vision Pro, no matter how Cyclops-like it makes you look.
Let me give you a good example of something that is conspicuous, and you don't need, and it doesn't show up as as in your peripheral vision as the Vision Pro does. Meta and Ray-Ban have this collaboration that they have for glasses. I know it's a whole different segment. I understand that I might sound like a moron for even comparing those two things, but even for something that has the cameras integrated on the sides of your glasses, when that light lights up, it just freaks out 10 people who are looking at you. Imagine just wearing imagine something that is just looks like sunglasses or like just looks like prescription glasses, having a camera, you're freaking people out. So this is much more larger. And the barrier of entry. I was talking to you about it yesterday when I told you that it's come when it was announced for Canada and it was on pre-order, and I was on the page because although I tell myself a lot that I don't need something, but if it is within my reach, I always take a look at it. So just running through the whole process of, do you have prescription glasses? Are you farsighted? Are you short-sighted? Are you whatever questions that were on screen there, and then I clicked the option which said that I use both. So and it said, oh, it's not available for you, and I was like, okay, that makes sense because optics is everything. So if the optics don't exist, I'll not be able to use such a device, and I'm okay with that. $5,000 plus tax saved here, and I'm
agreed.
I'm happy. But
I never thought about that. though. That just brings a lot more into perspective, right? Like the access to such a the next big thing, the access to the next big thing is so restricted.
And they'll work on it for sure. They'll work on it for sure.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Now coming to
Vision
to
OS.
the OS. Now coming to the OS, Vision OS 2. For when I was looking at the whole presentation, the one thing that kept running in the back of my mind was these are quality of life changes. You could have passed this off as 1.5. Vision OS 2 would I would want so much more from Vision OS 2, like mouse support, like that's the basic thing that should already exist.
You don't have iPad support yet. You can't bring in your iPad into Vision OS.
Yeah, I'm like,
weird.
I have virtual display. Oh, it's a massive curved display. Fine,
it's great.
Right, I'm already
very cool.
But who is this for? Like, it's for the power user, right? And if I'm going to target one aspect of the Apple ecosystem, I don't have to tell you how many people went out and bought the the Mac Studio. A lot of people bought the Mac Studio because it was marketed really well. It was that one
priced
echelon.
well.
Yeah, it was one echelon above the small Macs that you could purchase, Mac Minis.
Yeah.
And it was a great form factor, right? Now, I know it's a whole different segment, but there was so much incentive to go to the Mac Studio from the Mac Mini. I don't see that same incentive from moving to the Vision Pro, even with all these enhancements. I'm not ready to ditch my ultra wide screen and my mouse and my keyboard.
Yeah, not for 2 hours of battery life.
Not for 2 hours of battery life. Not for all that. Not for all that. How do I say all that? Weight on your head and all that. Nausea is going to induce. I'm not up for that, and therefore this was like the least exciting part. Although they added new functionality, like you could specialize photos that were shot on the iPhone 15 Pro and above, and on the Vision Pro itself, which was very funny.
Yeah.
But okay, because the technology probably exists in that space, but. I mean, not an exciting part.
Yeah, Vision OS definitely. I think quality of life improvements. Like, so there's this really big YouTuber called Christopher Lawley who covers the iPad massively. He's the iPad guy on YouTube, right?
He inspired me. He inspired me to go iPad only. He inspired me.
Dude, he inspired me to go iPad only. I did 2 years of my life iPad only, and I don't know how he does it. But anyways, he couldn't use the one device that he loves so much with the Vision Pro. So like it just, I mean, there are people who work different workflows. That's the whole point I was getting at with this. Like there are people who work iPad only. There are people who work iPad Mini only. And we actually had a conversation about that in the last podcast. And there are people who work Mac. And there's people who like different ways of working. Like everyone's so different. And Vision OS and the Vision Pro is definitely one of the ways that you can work in life. But then again, that's so restricted. And the access is so restricted. And there's so many hiccups in getting into that workflow, including the price, which is the biggest restriction on the world right now. So Vision OS 2, I think that's why Apple dropped the ball there. They didn't give you a lot because they obviously know that this is not it. This is not the final form factor. This is an introduction. We're going to build on it as slowly as possible. It's sold as much as they wanted it to sell. And now a lot's going to depend on the next piece of hardware, which should be smaller and more accessible to other people. And I think that's the way it's going to go. It's going to take another year before we get another Vision product. So
that's true.
I think we can skip through Vision OS now.
Yeah, totally. And just now coming to what would be the end of the discussion, because everything else I feel as part of iOS 18, a lot of those functionalities have now not trickled, but are part of the iPad OS as well.
iPad OS was a letdown,
It was a letdown. So, although
this was the one chance Apple had to fix iPad OS, and after getting you an M4 iPad and like the most powerful chip for AI, and dropping Final Cut Pro's version 2, which still hasn't come out, and dropping a new version for Logic Pro, and trying to make this like your big Apple event just happened in the month of May that was iPad only, and everyone got like unrealistically beautiful hardware and living the same pipe dream of, oh my god, next month is WWDC, and that's why they've launched this hardware 1 month before WWDC because they've planned a lot and thought a lot. And this is just another year where you got nothing to improve the iPad except for a calculator, which is a great calculator, by the way. But like,
it's a great calculator, but nothing. just that, and the smooth writing.
I don't regret switching out of the iPad and coming back to the Mac. That's all I'm going to say. I'm happy.
So it's the same way. Either way, like I switched out from a MacBook to an iPad only workflow, and I don't regret it either because the iPad at this size, at what functionality it provides, with the keyboard, with the Apple Pencil, does everything I wanted to do, to be honest. But I understand where you're coming from, because I think you have been much more of a power user in terms of using your iPad compared to me. I use it only for productivity. I've never edited or done any of that heavy workflow
you're
on
currently streaming. You're currently streaming this podcast, right?
Yeah.
Are you using the iPad to stream it?
I'm using it as a teleprompter, but
yeah, exactly.
yeah, I'm using it as a teleprompter, but yeah, that's all. That's all I'm using it for.
That workflow wouldn't be fun.
That workflow wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't be fun.
Exactly.
But it is not impossible to do. It just wouldn't be fun. This wouldn't be fun.
That's the thing.
And
that's the thing.
I think
that's the difference between iPad OS and Mac OS right now.
That's true. But a lot of individuals say, just give us Mac OS on the iPad and we'd be happy.
No.
But yeah. Like for anybody, okay, let me put it out there. A controversial thought. For anybody who has used Windows 11 on a portable device, a touchscreen device, say even if you game a lot and you bought one of those fancy ROG Allies from Asus, and you're using that device, just spend that 10 minutes, even in a store, just playing with those portable devices, and you will understand why you don't put an operating system that is not designed specifically for a touchscreen, specifically for a particular hardware configuration onto a device, and then watch it getting it's not crippled. It's not crippled by any way. I know for a fact that M4 or M3 will be able to handle, M2 will be able to handle the Mac OS. It does on other devices.
On the MacBook Air,
It's just that they would need to overhaul the whole interface in order for it to work perfectly.
I think it would be I think the word you're looking for is it would be janky.
It is janky on the Windows side of things, but I don't think Apple would allow that jankiness to trickle in. Therefore, that's what I tell people. There's at least going to be an overlay that's going to make it easier for you to interact with macOS on the iPad. But yet again, you will not. Some things are supposed to be the way they are.
It's not the same.
Yeah, I'm sure the iPad OS is handicapped in a lot of ways, and much work has to go there, and I agree. But for what it is doing a fantastic job.
Agreed.
And I'll leave it there because I could tell you.
Right? I think your perspective on this is super valid because again, you're using Windows right now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like you are using a PC right now to do this.
Yeah.
So you do have more devices at your disposal to do what you have to do. So you've kept a particular set of tasks to be performed on the iPad, and the iPad can be the device, which I've also said before. Like there was like 95% of the tasks that I need to do on an iPad, it could do. And it was just that video editing aspect and the creativity part where it got a little messy. Or maybe now that I started a podcast after letting go of the iPad. So you're not podcasting from the iPad, you're not editing on the iPad. So there's there's a few sectors where you have these issues, and if you have other devices at your disposal, it makes the iPad the perfect portable machine. But then again, I live a life where I want to carry one machine to do everything. I don't have a fixed machine at home. I don't have a Windows PC. I don't have an iMac. I don't have any desktop computers. I got one device to choose to carry around in my backpack to a ship, to shoot off, edit off, work off, do everything off. And for me, when I need a one device works all, I need a workhorse machine. And that's exactly why, like when you look at the iPad and the Mac, for me, the Mac just took that extra step ahead. And I'm like, and I thought the iPad could do it all. It did technically for a while.
It also comes out of the conversation now. Dwell a little bit on the operating system side of things. The very good example of that is portable gaming took off really in the last 1.5 years, 2 years. I'm talking about I'm talking about the portable gaming that was outside the realms of Nintendo, right? Outside the realms of the Switch, the Switch Lite. I'm talking about Windows devices, SteamOS devices,
Android PCs and SteamOS.
Android PCs taking off.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why people who are portable gaming fans would tell you it's number one, Nintendo, just because of all the exclusives and what they do in terms of hardware. Number two is the Steam Deck. It's not the Asus ROG Ally, which I own. It is not the Lenovo Legion Go, which I tested, but it is the Steam Deck. And the thing that makes it makes it so that it is the Steam Deck is the fact that the OS was done beautifully. They tried to make it functional on a touchscreen thumbpad device, and they did it with the help of Linux, and they did it with all that magic in the software side of things. Whereas Asus said, "Oh, just let's put an app called Armor Crate onto a device, and that should help people deal with the terrible interface that Windows 11 has on handheld devices."
Yeah,
so
agreed.
So
I understand where you're coming from.
That should wrap it up. And if you guys want to really check out a good comparison between SteamOS and Windows 11 on a handheld, go check any of Wolfden's videos.
Definitely.
Go check out Linus Tech Tips' long ass rant about how SteamOS just is a better operating system on a handheld. Even though, and a lot of people say, "Oh, but Kevin, the Asus ROG Ally has the the Z1 Extreme processor, and now it has 27 gigabytes of RAM, and it's just a better device on paper, right?" So paper, why are you shitting on Asus, man? The reason I'm saying this is because Steam Deck, like Apple, actually, did you know for the longest time your iPhone had around 4 gigabytes of RAM, whereas everybody else was going around there
12 gigs at that point.
12 gigs, 16 gigs of internal RAM. Yeah. On a cell phone.
I remember the iPhone had like 4 gigs of RAM when the OnePlus had like 12 gigs of RAM on their budget model, not even their top tier model, and I was just like, bro.
Have you heard Apple ever say UFS 3.0 is our storage?
No.
They don't care, man. They know what they're doing with their hardware. They're so confident. They're so confident that they can take every ounce of performance out of their hardware. A simple example is the 10R being able to run iOS 18. Enough said.
All right. So we gotta get back to Dub.
Yep. So a quick rundown. Best feature, worst feature, best experience, worst experience at WWDC.
Best experience. Craig Federighi running like a crazy person doing parkour within the Apple Park. And like jumping from like one stage of the event to the other stage. Best experience watching that happen. Definitely one of the coolest moments at the event for me. Also the intro, best experience. All hype. Worst experience, Vision OS, iPad OS. I'm gonna say iPad OS more because like I said, I think Vision OS is like restricted with the hardware now. Apple needs to get something more compact, something more accessible before they're gonna expand on the operating system side of things. So I would say iPad OS, worst experience, complete letdown. Worst feature as well as worst experience, right? Like worst set of features is what I'm going to say is iPad.
Worst set of features.
Yeah, so I'm going with iPad OS for all the bad right now. Best feature for me is hard. There's so much. I think
if you were on the let's put it this way, if you're on the Android side of the fence, and if one thing would convert you to Apple, and it was just software related, what would that be?
Controlling your iPhone on your Mac. That would
also mean you would have to have a Mac, right? So
yeah. Okay. So just I don't know. So with iOS 18, best feature is hard to say for me because like I love what they did with the Photos app, and it's really hard because like I would say the most defining feature for iOS 18 yesterday was Apple Intelligence, all the sprinkles of Apple Intelligence, right? The calculator, for example, that's Apple Intelligence kicking in there. But then the other things that I'm really excited about with iOS 18 are not special features. Like they're not going to make Android people switch the home screen redesign or like coloring your app icons or stuff like that. Like that's what I'm super excited about. The Photos app redesign. These are not reasons for people to quit Android and come to the iPhone. So it's hard to give anything preference.
And, all right.
Yeah, I just love it all. And,
I respect that.
But no, I don't believe there was a lot that was announced yesterday that could make an Android user switch to an iPhone. I think controlling your iPhone on a Mac, which is screen mirroring your iPhone, is phenomenal. I think it's one of the best features that was that really game-changing features, and it's typically one of those ecosystem things that you have. But no, other than that, I couldn't pinpoint anything. What about you?
I think for me, to be very honest, I think the greatest experience I had was one of the greatest experiences I had throughout was obviously the intro. I'm not going to say anything more than that. You guys have to watch the intro. That was a good experience. One of the worst experience was again Vision OS. The expectation that the thing is that I went in with zero expectations, and they still managed to disappoint me. Was something that I could write volumes about. The feature that I'm super excited about is all the UI redesigns, the control that they gave users in terms of how they do, how they design their. So that's something that was interesting. Feature that I'm least excited about, although I own an iPad, would be the iPad OS. I feel
entirely.
I feel the UI the overhaul would, if you would do justice to the iPad OS, but it's not something that will keep me hooked onto it like the iOS 18 features would.
Definitely.
So yeah,
I think Apple also realized that they went over iPad OS really quick in the keynote. Like it wasn't a very long. I think the longest part of iPad OS was the calculator app.
And they already had an iPad event, so this was a software event. Let's just brush on this and let's move ahead.
Yeah, it's a big iPhone again.
Yeah, like I tell everybody, I was like, oh, it's just a bigger iPhone. Like, yeah.
At some point, like, yeah. I think it was an exciting event if you're inside the Apple ecosystem or like even an iPhone user, just generally. It was great if you own Apple products. It's not going to make you switch any platform that come to the Apple world. I don't think that's going to happen.
Wait, if they, like from what I'm seeing with the leaks for the iPhone 16 series, I think it can get a bit exciting for people who are hardware enthusiasts, especially the whole rehaul, going back to the iPhone 10 days. In terms of having your
wait, we're not giving that away tonight. Tonight is the Dub event.
Wwdc.
Hold off the iPhone 16 for episode 3.
I'm eating up my own content.
Exactly. We're not doing that. So if you guys want to know more about the iPhone 16, because Kevin has a lot of information about this. He's been sitting and talking about this to me for the last few days. You want to know more about the iPhone 16, stay tuned for your weekly tech fix coming out with episode 3 in the next week. This week was special. We already had 2 episodes this week, so definitely subscribe to our channel on all platforms possible. We're on Instagram now. We have YouTube. We're going to be coming up with Threads really, really soon. And definitely subscribe to Kevin's personal YouTube channel, which is One Take EDC, for some of the coolest and best EDC that you can find on the internet. And subscribe to your boy.
Yeah, subscribe to your boy.
Life at sea and lifestyle and tech and a whole bunch of different stuff. If you just don't know what you want to watch on YouTube, come to my channel. I have a lot of stuff. But yeah, Dub was awesome, and I'm glad we got a chance to talk Apple and the entire event together, right?
And guys, if you guys want to go and we just touched the surface of what was announced at WWDC. If you guys want to read more or see more, please go and look stuff up. And put a message down in the comments when you get to the end of the pod, and say hi. Say bananas in the comments if you are watching now. We'll catch you guys in the next video. This is your weekly tech fix, and thank you for being around and finding out what's what in tech and lifestyle.
And here's a balloon for you before I leave the show.
And we'll see you guys next week with another weekly tech fix. Cheers.
See you soon.
Good night.
Thanks for watching.